Summer of Anime 2015 is starting to kick off. With today, we have another new series to talk about and something to really get our attention to see if we like it or not. Now, hello my fellow Chibits. Today, I'm here to bring you my first episode impressions of Ranpo Kitan. Now, this series, there's a lot I want to talk about, and there's a theory I actually do want to talk about when it comes to this episode after seeing what this episode is about. I walked into the episode not knowing anything about the plot. I'm actually walking into majority of this series from this summer season blind. Like, I don't know majority of the plot of majority of the series coming out, and I felt like this would be a good idea for me to do a very good solid first impressions of series to see what it's exactly about. And from what I could see from this series, I did not expect it to be a mystery horror anime. I didn't expect that at all, and when I came into the series and saw that, that was pretty cool. I like the vibe I'm getting from the series, because it's been quite a long time since I have seen a series like this. Like, you know, a detective series that's kind of like a mystery horror. And I think the last time I saw an anime series like this, I could be wrong, but it's just in my memory, I think it's Danganronpa when I watched it last year. I think that was the last series I watched that was kind of like this. Now, this ain't a survival game from what I could see. It doesn't seem like it's a survival game, but it reminds me a lot of Danganronpa, especially when it comes to certain things, but it's not like that. I'm just gonna say, it's not a survival game and stuff like that. But getting back on point, my first impressions of this, like when it comes to the premise, to the opening song, to the characters, I want to talk about the MC. Our MC, Kobayashi, he's got a little bit of screws loose. Like, he's nutty. Like, oh yeah, our MC is nutty as fuck, because right at the beginning of the series, I thought our character was a female. Like, I thought our MC was a female. Come to find out, it was a dude. For some reason, our MC has a female voice actor, looks like a female, kind of dresses like a female, has a feminine-looking body, and I thought it was a female until it was revealed it was a dude, and I'm like, what the fuck is with this trap? Like, what the fuck? So, if I know anything, when it comes to series, or mystery series that focus, or have characters that have, like, I guess they're traps. Like, for instance, when there's a mystery detective series that has a trap, sometimes those characters are very vital in the series and maybe might be a future plot twist. Something might be a plot twist in the future, or some form of characterization for the character that will lead them into their endgame to where they discover whatever happens. And I think that's exactly what's going on with our MC, because for our MC to have that type of characteristic, it just feels very weird. Like, it feels like it's not really important, so to say. Like, it just feels like it's there. And I mean, you can argue and say it's Japan. Japan has traps all the time. There's no issue with that. There's none at all. I'm just pointing it out when it came to what the series was trying to set up with the premise and stuff. That entire little segment right there when it came to the character of Kobayashi, it felt very weird, different from everything else. And I think that's going to be a crucial plot point in the future. I really do. I'm willing to play some money on that. That's going to be something very important in the end game of the series. But moving past that, RMC is a young kid that's still going to school and has gotten wrapped up into a murder. For instance, this person, Kobayashi's teacher, was murdered, and you get to see this death at the beginning of the episode. You don't know who killed this person, and this is where, you know, the mystery genre actually lies in this series. You have it to where our MC is trying to figure out who killed the teacher, for what reason, and, well, we kind of found out the reason, actually, because the teacher was a murderer, but, for instance, why did this person specifically go after that teacher? Like, was this person that murdered the teacher affected by the teacher, like whoever he killed, or why is this, you know, person whoever killed the teacher trying to mess with our MC Kobayashi? I mean, why is this person that did that doing that? And also, why is the murderer turning these bodies, for instance, these different people that this person has killed, into, like, some form of symbolism or symbolic meaning? Like, with the teacher, there's a lot of symbolic meaning. That symbolism. Fuck, man. That symbolism with that death and that dead body of the teacher. He had his hands, like, chopped off right here, okay, on both hands. And his hands were set up like this in his lap. And his lap is, you know, crisscross, like, you know, crisscross. And his hands were like this. And then you see how, you know, there's, like, a freaking towel on top of his head because his head was completely axed off. And then you see a bunch of blood behind him. And it's like a portrait of flowers, and you see it all over the floor too. And there's a lot of symbolic meaning in that death from the teacher. Like, you got the flowers that Ashita Sensei from Tokyo Ghoul uses all the fucking time surrounding this dude, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then you got, the Buddha symbolism. It reminds me a lot of Buddha. I think that's what it was trying to go for. Like, that entire sitting arrangement with the way the teacher was cut up and into pieces and put like that, it reminded me a lot of Buddha statue. Like, how the Buddhas have their hands like this in different ways? It reminded me of that, because since the body was, sitting crisscross and the way it was done, it just seemed like it was showing a sign of symbolism of punishment and peace at the exact same time. So I wonder where that was going and what the true meaning of that death is trying to mean, and is the person that's being a murderer, is he trying to punish people? Which, I think that's a key sign. That is a key sign to what I think the psyche of this murderer is, which I will get into the theories in a second. Getting back on the topic of the nutty craziness of our MC supposedly is not really affected about anything that happened in this episode. Like, this MC right now is facing charges of murdering his teacher and murdering other people, working together with his teacher as a murderer, a side accomplice, killing other people and turning them into human shares. And this is a bad accusation against our MC, so he has to figure out who killed these people, why is he being framed, he has to find proof, but this is where it gets very interesting. Our MC is not really affected. Like, as a person, as me, as a viewer, looking at his character, he was having fucking fun being accused, and he thinks this is all game, trying to find out who murdered who, and that's a very fucked up way to start this series, especially with that MC, and I think it goes along with actually the character's dress attire. For instance, as I said earlier on in this first impressions review, the MC dresses up like a female almost. I mean, you would honestly mistaken this person as a female if you weren't told it was a dude. And I think it goes along with the insanity of our MC Kobayashi, because if he is slightly nutty, which is kind of confirmed, especially after what we witnessed in this episode, it makes sense that he would dress up the way he's done and act like the way he is done, and it just makes me go along with his character a lot more. I'm like, this is a really cool MC just to be able to see something like that. I can't wait to see where it's going to go with that, though, because like I said, I feel like that's a very crucial plot point to the series. Now, moving into some theories. You have it to where a bunch of characters, like a bunch of the characters at the beginning of the episode are grayed out, and throughout majority of the episode, a bunch of characters are grayed out and they're solid grade. And at first glance, it most likely looks like it's a budgeting concern. For instance, the animators of the series wanted to save budget and didn't decide to animate certain characters that were not really going to be important to the series at all. Like, for instance, just saving and cutting budget, kind of like Durarara does sometimes with its characters, just, graying out characters. And that's what that reminded me of. I thought it was like a budget-saving aspect of this episode, and that's understandable, but when I started thinking about the psyche of our MC, it started to click what that actually tried to mean. If I'm correct, this series is probably based off of a game. Judging by the premise of the series, I think this series is based off of a game. I could be wrong, but I think it is based off of a game, the way it was displayed with the symbolism and stuff, because when the character, our MC, was around, when the MC looked at certain characters, you saw how the characters, the way they started off blurry when, it first started getting colored, and then they became clear as day. It seems like the grayed out people that surround our MC Kobayashi might be people that he finds boring. For instance, as we know, Kobayashi is having a very boring life. Like, he's bored as fuck, he wants to have fun, and he doesn't find these people around him very interesting. And I feel like when the characters were getting colored in this episode, that was kind of like saying Kobayashi's looking at these people and they might be very interesting. They're not boring like the standard humans that he normally sees. And I think that's what it's trying to hint at, that when the characters get colored in, Kobayashi actually has some form of interest in these people. And I felt like that was where the direction of the animation style was trying to direct towards. Now, getting into another theory I have, as I already kind of briefly stated, which I gave out some hints already to my theory, the main point of the death of the teacher was punishment. It was punishment, from what we come to find out. Like, the MC Kobayashi narrows down that whatever happened to that teacher, it was punishment. Why? Why does this murderer want to go out of the way to punish this teacher for being a murderer? I mean, murder is a wrong thing to do. Fine. But why would a murderer want to murder another murderer as punishment? Because obviously the punishment would be murder. My theory is that whoever this murderer is a detective. A detective or something, because We come to find out in this episode with that detective dude, that Imperial detective dude, you know, the dude that was having a game with our MC Kobayashi at the end of the episode. We come to find out he has special privileges. So, like, he can manipulate the news, he can do all sorts of shit he wants, he has favoritism to different companies and agencies. So, like, he's a favorite. And so he can get away with a lot more shit. And it makes me feel like that dude is the murderer. Because he has a lot of similarities to the MC when it comes to his insanity. We also know he takes some form of medicine because he feels pain. And that makes me think that this dude might be the murderer. I'm assuming that the detective dude is the murderer because obviously a detective would want to punish criminals. The criminal, the teacher that was killing people, might have killed someone close to that detective. He wanted vengeance, and he made an example of that dude and punished him. Makes a lot more sense when you start poking and add the dots together. It seems like that detective is becoming very suspicious when it comes to whoever is guilty on our cast of characters. And that's about it. That's my first impressions of Ranpo Kitan, I think that's how you say it. So tell me your thoughts and comments below. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.